Hello, thank you for joining me. I hope you're doing well and feeling relaxed. I myself am taking this time to relax, and I'm in a mode of contemplation, and I'd like to share that with you. Instead of what I usually do when I'm feeling physical pain like I am now, usually I hide myself away and expand my comfort into the spiritual realms and learn about something using my intellect and feel into a greater expanded sense of awareness to help me feel balanced and not so heavily weighted in the physical pain that I'm experiencing. So this series that I'm beginning to work with, Courage, Creativity, and Contemplation, it's a series of audio files that I'd like to put out occasionally and start to become more comfortable with sharing more freely from this space that I retreat to, sharing it with others before my physical body is no longer working and I'm unable to share so much. I would like to give myself an opportunity to be authentic and connect this way and to honor the spirit that I have within myself, to not keep it so hidden. So yeah, with courage, I speak more freely about what I feel connected to and share that without fear of being judged. Creativity is not just being artistic and practicing drawing or painting or making music. Creativity is breathing life into something. And what I'm taking as creativity today is my awareness into a new philosophy that I haven't learned very much about until now. I've spent my life looking into different philosophies, spiritual teachings, theories, and modes of thought, listening to different teachers and interviews and reading different books across the entire spectrum. And that doesn't bother me to not adhere to only one system, scientific understanding, mystical belief, religion, mythology. I find that through looking into everything as much as I can, I'm finding that there's actually a thread that really beautifully is woven throughout everything. And maybe that is my underlying path, is to find the connection of everything and to be there. There are patterns in the life experience, in the way things work. This is what I believe, and I'll just talk freely like this without clarifying each time that this is just my belief. I'm not proclaiming to know anything for certain, and I am not pushing anything on anyone. I just, like I said in the beginning, really want to honor and give voice to what I have inside courageously, without fear of anything, of any judgment or negativity coming back because of it. I believe that there's an underlying pattern to the way things work, to human life experience. You can find it in nature, cosmology, energetic ways our day-to-day life. And the one that I'm focusing on right now, the pattern that I've been contemplating lately, is of the death and rebirth. And this can happen several times throughout a cycle within our lives. And it can be likened to other things as well, such as awareness and sleep. Becoming awake and then going back to sleep. Getting shaken up and then becoming complacent. Having something happen and then correcting, learning a new perspective, refining. Expansion, contraction. This pendulum swing is happening constantly, all around us and inside. And one thing I want to speak to is the human experience of that. And in my own way, what I'm experiencing is a constant correction, refinement, attunement. And I'm realizing that there's a principle, a law that we can, or that I am feeling like I'd like to settle into, a knowing. And this is guiding me and helping me in my everyday. At first, it was because being in a wheelchair and having a paralyzed body and moving myself around was so challenging. I needed to find a way to create order in my environment and a flow so that I could more easily conserve my energy throughout the day. As I have been creating more order and honoring that sort of a system and the beauty of Zen and flow, other things are making themselves aware to me as well. And I'm really finding it beautiful that there's a whole list of principles spelled out from ancient Egyptian myth, the laws or the ideals of Ma'at. And I'm learning more about Kemet and ancient Egyptian mythology and structures and thought. And I think it's really, really beautiful that it's some of the oldest spiritual guidance that we have on Earth here. And talking about a pattern running through consistently through our lives, through nature, through all sorts of different levels of existence, there's this ideal, this pattern, the mythology of Aset and her husband when she finds out that he's murdered and she remembers him. She goes around finding the pieces of him, putting him back together, remembering him, which creates something out of that. The remembrance creates the birth of a spirit that takes it as his mission to restore balance on earth. And that's really beautiful, because in the everyday, that's the case as well. There's a constant restoration of balance and order and beauty. Extropy. Entropy is a natural pull into chaos, and we, as humans, as creators, we can use our power of effort and intention and imagination and heart. We can use our power. I can use my time here as I'm resting, instead of keeping what I learned to myself. I can use this time to make a recording and share with anyone who'd like to listen. So we have these elements of entropy and spirit that can come in and restore balance. There's a list, as I was saying, the 42 ideals of Ma'at, which I can read a few of them off here. And if you're interested, you can look it up online, and you can use it as a reference in your everyday. The mythology of Ma'at, she's the goddess. She has wings. She has a balance. She weighs your heart to a feather. And if your heart is light as a feather, you carry that. Actually, there's a really beautiful writing on this website that I will link the article as well in the description, How to Learn and Live the Principles of Ma'at, according to Master Teacher Muata Ashby. And toward the end of the article, I just absolutely love how she summarizes this. The feather, the weight of your heart, your spirit. She says, how we live also determines what happens to us after we live our physical forms. And I just want to say something quickly. Before I read this, the past couple of nights, I've been really uncomfortable. I've been experiencing some really uncomfortable stuff in my body, my physical body. And when I do that, I prepare myself for any possibility as to not hold on to this suffering. And I imagine myself as I'm going to sleep as if I'm floating in space in pure consciousness without a body. And the feeling that I have in my heart is what I say, is this the feeling that I want to carry in it as my signature? And so I don't want to be angry and bitter that I'm in pain and carry that with me forever. I don't want that to be my signature. And so to come to peace and honor of the life, however it is, and do your best is just really something that I believe to be very important, not only for yourself, but as a vibration to offer, to do your best to be strong enough to do something like that as a contribution. So I'm just going to go back to reading what she says. How we live also determines what happens to us after we leave our physical forms. In the ancient Egyptian system, there is no death, only a transformation based on one's actions, thoughts, and innermost consciousness while living in the physical world. If you have lived a balanced life of Ma'at, then you will not have the possibility of experiencing heaven or hell. Rather, you will retain presence of mind and become one with the Atum, and you will experience timelessness and boundlessness with the eyes of God. And I just want to interject and say, in becoming one, if you have a balanced life, like I was just saying, how are you feeling, and what are you holding as your signature? Is it balanced? Is it centered? Then you can sit in the eye of the storm, so to say. So then she goes on. But for those who embrace and live to serve their lower selves, the soul will experience torment from the negative energies that they've unleashed. Their actions come back, and they will be punished by self-torment. What I'm taking that to mean is that, if I'm laying in bed last night or right now in pain and anger, why is this happening to me? And I'm taking that attitude and I'm rippling it outward into my interactions with other people, and I'm just becoming an angry person because I'm in pain. That is my reflection that I'm putting out for me to see and to live with. And so that's important to think about. The most important thing to remember now is that your present effort can overcome any and all of your past negativity if you apply yourself with earnestness and resolve to become fully established in virtue. This means that you must decide to dedicate your life to discovering and facing all shades of vice and negativity within you, and in doing so, never fall back into the pits of ignorance which lead to pain and sorrow. And with that, I am taking that to mean, as I was talking about before, the pendulum swing from awareness to sleep, from action to complacency, from death or rebirth, contraction, expansion. When you take the time to look within yourself and stop worrying about what other people are doing or what's happening around the world, when you do your own shadow work and look at what you're contributing and do your best to refine and take those on and to grow and to grieve all the time that you spent in denial or bypassing or blaming others for something. When you really go through the process of weighing yourself, that's virtue. It's not like how can I attain being virtuous? I just might as well not. No, it can be very simple. And I'm glad to be speaking about this because if one person listens to this, I'm glad that I can share that piece of knowledge to give permission to someone or some people to get out of that space of thinking that to be virtuous is out of your reach. It can be so simple as just doing work on yourself to uphold a standard which you expect to see all around you. The last sentence of the article is, through the deeper understanding of cosmic order and by the practice of living in our harmony, through the deeper understanding of cosmic order and by the practice of living in harmony with that order, the individual will lead himself or herself to mental and spiritual peace and harmony. And I think that's really beautiful because we want peace and harmony as our signature, as our vibration. There's so much confusion and anger and sadness and repression and masking of the truth and of the processes that we need to be going through, of honoring. There's way too much sadness, and because of that, a lot of spiritual dis-ease. And in order to have a balance and harmony, we need to face all of that so that we can do our part in the greater, to basically not let it all go to crap. This thread runs through everything in our lives. And so just even beginning to think about it is lining yourself up with the greater knowledge. And it's really beautiful to look into that. And so thank you so much for listening as I take some time with courage, creativity, and contemplation to get through some pretty serious pain that I'm experiencing. I'm glad to share this time of reflection with you instead of just keeping it to myself and exploring on my own. I want to explore with you. So thank you, and take really good care.